the world is it's healing now that we're back.
Yeah,
it really has been in disarray since we left.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been in disarray, obviously, not because we left, but yeah.
Right. Oh. Well, I mean, maybe.
That's true.
We can't run the experiment back. It could be because we left.
That's true.
To be honest.
That's a good point. I like where you're going. Yeah. So how have you been? It's only been a week, right, since we last recorded. We'll just pretend like that.
It's been 5 minutes. Yeah. We're going to start at timestamp. We'll add this audio to the end of the previous one.
But yeah. I don't know. So yeah. So I've read a lot, but I guess you haven't read much, you said?
I haven't read anything.
What the heck? You've read stuff.
Have I?
I feel like you have. You've read the Bible, probably.
Mr. Yeah, Christian, actually, a little bit, yes.
Mr.
A lot of podcasts. I don't know. I've just been gigging so much.
Yeah.
Been on the road. Yep.
Man.
Yeah, I was in San Francisco a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, for that gig, right? For those away gigs, yeah.
This weekend, I got Austin, Houston, College Station, back to Houston, back to Austin.
I assume you're probably not going to have time to see me, though.
No, I get into Houston at 3 a.m. on Friday, and then I get a van at 10. I leave for College Station, and then I come back on Saturday, do a gig, and leave.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does. It sucks.
Where you stood, they put you up at least?
Yeah, it's a hotel in Katy.
Wow.
Just off the highway.
Well, I just got told about a good hot pot place in Katy.
Yeah, Katy's got a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm coming in at 3 a.m, so there's no way it's open.
Yeah, it's closed. Yeah, man, that's rough. I don't envy that.
Yeah. But the pay is good enough that I say yes. So.
Yeah. Well, and you must like it to some degree. No? Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I don't know.
I guess
they're hard gigs. Too.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I mean, they're professional and they probably have high standards, right?
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean, yeah, it's not even that. It's not like super high stakes. It's like, yeah, it's a wedding. You got to do it right. But it doesn't. It's just so much gear.
Yeah.
It's like the load in and load out is
and
like
it's just you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That sucks. You feel you must
the one in San Francisco was the worst because it was at the Ritz-Carlton, and it's like we weren't allowed to go through any main entrance. We had to go through the back through like a loading dock that went through the kitchen and take an elevator. And it was like I got it down to about 5 trips, but even that took me like an hour and 20 minutes.
God, that sucks.
It's just like 10 minutes up, 10 minutes down. My God.
And then you're probably all dressed in black and pants and stuff. It probably.
No, I mean for load in, load out, you wear jeans and a t-shirt, but you got to switch to a suit for the event.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, because I worked sound too, but many years ago,
right?
And it was, obviously part of the university, but we had to work. The events were always the worst to work.
Right.
I mean, it's just because everybody's stressed, and I don't understand the event planner mentality of anybody that wants to go into that. But I'm glad people do. People that like spreadsheets, obviously. But I mean, it just seems terrible.
I like it when they're on their game. Like, I've worked with event planners who are really sharp, like very curt and like abrasive, but it's fine because they're on their stuff. Sure. This one in San Francisco was not. Like, I got there and they hadn't even finished building the stage. And so it's like, I load everything in. It's taken an hour plus for me to load in. And it's like, I need to get going. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we're still like putting the stage together.
Was it a band or was it just a DJ thing?
No, it was a band. It was a full band.
Damn.
There's a 4-hour setup. And so, it's like, well, I got to get going because the band's going to be here now in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's like, where's the power? She's like, oh, we have to get the AV people from the hotel to come and give you a power drop. It's like, yeah.
Yes, you do.
I can't do anything if I have no power.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, San Francisco. Enough said right there.
Sure.
Yeah, no, anyway. So I read a lot of stuff.
Cool.
But I don't know if it'll be interesting to other people. But I got, about a year ago, I got into I feel like shortly after we took the pause on the podcast, which we did just because, Antooshka, he couldn't handle it, basically.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I wanted to do it.
You were like, please, can we continue?
Yeah, it wasn't the opposite by any means. Roger Bacon and Francis Bacon, man, I got into those too.
Nice.
And honestly, right now I'm kind of back. I'm into John Dee. I sent you that thing about his hieroglyphic, basically.
Yeah, I did start reading.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think? Yeah, so
his beginning theorem reminds me of a theory about music and rhythm that I half subscribe to and I half think is a little bit silly.
Well, I would like to hear why. I guess we should say first that just John Dee was he was basically the astrologer, the court astrologer for a period for Elizabeth I. So we're talking, 1500s. Cool. And I think he died in the early 1600s. But he died kind of destitute because, Queen Elizabeth, when she died around the turn of the, whatever would that be? I always forget, the turn of the 16th century, 1500s going into the 1600s. And when she died, James, I think it's the first, took the reins, and he was like kind of pretty different than her,
right?
And it honestly is kind of like politics now, where it's like, okay, so the Trump administration's in, you bring all the loyalists in, then Biden was in, and then they're attacking all the Trump people. Now Trump's back, and now they're attacking everybody. So it was the same thing. He basically, when James took power, he became destitute and he died, I think, in poverty. But he was for a period, and he was old too. He was like 81. He lived pretty long for the time. But for a period in the 1500s, like he was, I think, pretty influential. And then he became even more influential because he buried this book. No, he didn't. I don't know if he buried this book. He buried a book about, talking with angels, and then that was dug up after he died. This is all from the Wikipedia.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So the book that we're talking, the hieroglyphic monad?
Yeah. Well, that, I can't...
How do you pronounce
monad?
it?
I assume it's monad, because, I assume it's the same thing that, Leibniz...
Like a dyad, a monad.
Well, and Leibniz has his whole philosophy is about, I think it's about monism and stuff, like...
Right.
Yeah, which we can talk about too. Basically he was an occultist. That's really the short of it. He was a spiritual guy. Everybody thought he was a wizard. That's another thing. Everybody thought Roger Bacon, who was the Franciscan friar in like the 1200s. If you're smart enough during this time, I think people just think you're a wizard.
Right.
And I think he leaned into it too. And but he was really into occultism, and so one of the things that made him really popular after his death was the Rosy Cross, the Rosicrucian order, which is this whole thing that we could get into, but we don't have to. But it's like an occult thing, and they're kind of Christian, but they have a very different perspective about Christianity than the normal, and it's much more spiritual, kind of like Gnostic, but not exactly.
Right. I mean, Gnostic's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been reading Gnostic things.
Oh, okay, bit. Yeah. Well,
Gospel of Judas.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about that. We could talk about that. Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Book of Enoch too. We'll talk about that. So
Book of
he was
Enoch,
all into Enoch stuff,
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, that's just the background. But yes, so I haven't actually read most of this or really much of it. I've just thumbed through it. I sent it to you yesterday just because we could at least talk a little bit about it. But yeah, I mean, I will just say I haven't read this full thing. So yeah.
It reminds me of the kind of stuff my dad used to read.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
he'd
have books with symbols and stuff.
Oh,
like this.
Interesting. Yeah, so you look at if you just if you're listening and you just Google the hieroglyphic monad or whatever it is, you can see it.
Something about the monad. It sounds so broy when you say it like that.
Yeah. You know what? I've come to realize, though, the more Philadelphia comedians I listen to, the Philadelphia accent is the most funny. It's the funniest accent.
Yeah. It's funny for it to come through you.
Yes. Well, I don't have it wasn't Philly, was it?
No, but there's like a bro-y thing.
Yeah, in Chicago, I mean, we obviously have an accent. Chicago, just a regular guy.
It's a good accent. I love it.
Well, thank you.
I find it so charming. I find all upper Midwest accents charming.
Yeah. Eric's okay. I don't know what my favorite accent is, but I like the Philadelphia one just because it is funny.
Yeah.
No offense. I think they know it though. And so that's why I like listening to War Mode and listening to them talk about, honestly, in many cases, smart things. But then it's just coming out of this accent.
Or listening to Bam Margera.
Yeah, Bam Margera. Yeah,
he talks a lot of smart stuff.
He does. He certainly does. Hieroglyphic monad. I need to bring it up. Oh yeah, monad.
Yes, it's the first theorem. Just starting it. Yeah. Monads.
Oh yeah, no, it's monad too. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, if it's the Latin, you want to be Latin about it. It's monas. Monas. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So the first theorem is exactly where I start to think about old music theory that I used to talk about and read a lot. It says, it is by the straight line and the circle that the first and most simple example and representation of all things may be demonstrated, whether such things be either non-existent or merely hidden under nature's veils. So the idea of reducing representation of everything to a line and a circle, and then probably building on that the various interactions that they can have.
Right. Oh, and I should say he was a mathematician too.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a theory in music that all rhythm and harmony and basically all music can be reduced to 2 or 3.
I believe that.
And or the interaction of those things.
I believe that.
I don't agree because I think that discounts 1, and in his very next theorem, in this, he even talks about a point being the structural basis of a line. And so it seems to me like he's immediately undercutting his first theorem that it isn't actually the substructure of everything. I think it's because a point is a thing.
Sure. This is actually very good because it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Because I think the issue is it's. I agree. I think it's the substructure of space, and it's like a point is basically I think just space without time, and then as soon as you add time, then it becomes a line. You have a progression.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why it's like you don't technically have. I guess you're right. You can technically have a song that's just one beat, and then you're done, right? That would be the most basic song. So I suppose in that sense, I agree. But
also, there are larger. I think that 4. I would argue that 4 is in music is a coherent structure in and of itself.
But is it a basic
Not that you
structure?
Can't break it into 2, but that 4 as a basic unit is actually the most common musical unit in the entire world.
I agree with that, but that's a superstructure, I think, and that not.
I don't think. That's where I'm saying. I don't actually think it is a superstructure.
But if you can break
in the same way that I don't think that a beat is actually 2/8 notes. Like 1/4 note can be broken into 2/8 notes, but 1/4 note is a coherent structure in and of itself.
It's a coherent...
And an eighth notes aren't actually 16th notes. And 16th notes aren't actually 32nd notes.
Yeah, it's only...
You can continue to subdivide if you wish, but you can also exist at higher levels, and those are fully coherent structures.
I'd have to think about this.
Like you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that doesn't mean that you have to go 1E into 2E into 3E into 4E into, or like it doesn't have it doesn't have to be 6 or 32 or whatever, even though you can break it into anything you want.
Right. You're saying that you can. This is kind of what's his face, Zeno.
Yeah,
yes. Zeno. This is Zeno's paradox.
Yeah. Right. It is kind of bringing calculus into it in a way. Yes.
Because you can infinitesimally divide something.
Right, but you don't have to.
You don't have to, but...
And I don't think that's even what's happening. I would not argue that a bar of 4/4 is actually, like 18 sextuplets or
So then do you have a fundamental issue with limits where you say, like, whatever, like the limit of cosine theta is the infinite series?
No, I don't have an issue with the statement. I have maybe an issue in saying, like, this is the structure of everything.
Well, yeah, I can see why you.
What I'm saying is, like, I think it's a useful way of looking at things, and it's very useful in rhythm to be able to telescope in either direction infinitely, or to be able to conceptualize that it can do that. But that doesn't mean that is the structure. That's just a way of thinking about it.
So what do you think about Planck's constant?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you don't? I thought
That's
you took
what I
physics.
think about it.
Oh.
No, I don't know physics.
Oh, I thought you took it at some point. Okay, well, yeah.
I took it like a high school.
Yeah. Planck's constant is basically it is the resolution of reality, essentially. It's the pixel resolution of reality is what I think you can kind of think about it as. I was actually just talking to a physicist, a mathematician, who's much smarter than me. So I feel more confident about saying this. And it's very interesting how I figured it out. I mean, have you heard of Max Planck? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Nope. Okay.
Totally new.
No, he should be more well known. I mean, well, to be fair, he does have a university named after him, a very large university system named after him in Germany.
Nice.
But he was essentially, he was studying this thing called black body radiation. Yeah, so black body, theoretical ideal object that absorbs all incident electromagnetic radiation. This is just Google AI, right? Across all wavelengths and frequencies, and also re-emits it as thermal radiation. So the point is, the reason why this is interesting is...
Thermal radiation.
Yes, the point is that there was a discrepancy in the thermal radiation that would be emitted from the black body, if it was a low frequency light versus if you irradiate it with UV. They could explain the lower frequency. There was a classical physics could explain the lower frequency, but it couldn't explain the energy that was emitted with the higher frequency, like UV. They called it UV catastrophe, essentially. And so what Planck did was he realized that actually it's because of, this is essentially what launched quantum physics, it's because things, when you get so small, when you get to such a small scale, they start to be, they are interpreted by our macroscopic reality differently. So you have to model them with math differently. And he did that by deriving an equation that essentially found that you need this constant called Planck's constant. That's the whole thing. But the point is, it can be looked at as the resolution of reality, is kind of the point. And I was actually kind of debating the physicist about this, of like, okay, yes, it's the resolution of reality at our current precision. But that's not to say that we couldn't, if we develop a more precise instrument, is it possible that we could potentially resolve an even finer reality, I suppose. Which I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. So it just got me thinking about that, because in some sense, physicists, I mean, this is what quantum is. You can discretize reality, into quanta. That's what quanta is. It's just a discrete thing. That's where quantum mechanics comes from. That's why we call it that. So every physicist, in some sense, I mean, they probably don't all believe this, but when they're studying quantum mechanics, they are sort of implicitly agreeing that there is you can't necessarily infinitesimally divide reality.
Interesting.
Yeah. Again,
that's wild.
I don't think a lot
in my
of them
mind,
would.
Quantum mechanics is like dealing with superpositions and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it is, but that's all comes after. But it all started with. I mean, it didn't all start with this. There's precedence to everything, obviously. But a big inflection point was the photoelectric effect, and then the Michaelis-Menten experiment for the ether. Those were the big ones, and this is all in the end of the 19th century. And this is when the Germans were like, there's nothing else to discover in physics. We've done it all. They literally were thinking that.
I mean, that's great. It's good. I mean, this guy. I mean, everybody. It's good. You just state that something is sufficient to explain everything.
Right.
And then you don't need anything else.
To be fair, it's not, they didn't just state it. They had, I mean, this is when electricity, like they had a reason to be so bold because electricity, I mean, Tesla was doing everything then, you know? It's like the 1890s, a lot of people thought that we would have universal electricity. This actually gets into the next thing that, you know, also another guy, Eric Dollard is another guy I was reading. We can get into that too, maybe. But anyway. Okay. So that's just an interesting aside that I sort of agree with you that as I just said, I think that you can probably cut reality however you like it. You know, it seems kind of continuous, even though our minds discretize it.
Right.
But, I mean, your points about the beat is an interesting one. I don't think I quite understand how 4 beats can not be a superstructure.
It can be a superstructure. I just don't think it has to be a superstructure.
I don't understand that, because it's like if it's built of parts, then it ultimately is a superstructure.
Right, but is everything a superstructure then? Then my follow-up to that is a quarter note a superstructure of eighth notes?
Yeah, I think that in the reductionist mentality it is. I mean, this is probably...
Right. At which point, the idea of 2s and 3s is kind of out the window because everything is just a superstructure of some other thing. Everything is a superstructure of either 2s or 3s or 5s or 7s or a million.
Well, I think it kind of is, at least in how we model reality with our head, you know, and this is where we can get into the whole thing of whether that's actually true and what's the discrepancy between reality and our minds, right? Which we probably won't ever really know. But this gets to something. This is why I was reading into all the Planck stuff, because I've been thinking about infinite series a lot recently, because I've been working on this thing with a mathematician. I'm not a mathematician, but I have more math than the average person. And so I had this thought of form and function is this, you know, age-old question. Does form follow function? Does function follow form? And what I've sort of realized is I think that it's a nonsense question, and that they're, you know,
I agree with you.
And that they're related. And the way I've been thinking about it is actually it feels like you have form, and then function is the operator that tells you every state that form can take over time. And so then I was thinking, so could, you know, and this is from a reductionist standpoint. So the a priori is that you can actually explain something as the sum of its parts, which I understand not everybody agrees, and that's essentially what you're saying that you can't do.
No, I'm not saying you can explain it that way.
You hate reductionism.
No. I think it has a place.
Okay.
I think it's the statement that all of music is 3s and 2s, period. That's where I have a problem.
Yeah.
It's not that isn't potentially useful.
Yeah. No.
It definitely is, especially like if I were trying to help somebody count complex meters, the first thing I would tell them is to break it into 3s and 2s. Don't count 16 or 17 or 22. Don't do that. It's impossible. Count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Do it like that. That's really easy.
Well, what do you think about the idea? So the reason I bring up the math is because this is essentially what mathematicians have found with reality, that you can break it down into parts and then build and then model it with the parts. So the most fundamental equation, in a sense, is X, right? It's the linear combination of things. You know, that's the most, and that seems to be how reality functions at a base level of it's additive. And then, but when you're dealing with reality on different scales, it becomes exponential. But exponential is just a type of addition, you know, right? It's multiplication is a type of addition. And so that's the point, is that you can break it down into these basic blocks.
I agree. Yeah. I completely agree with you. It's my quibble is the 3 and 2 specifically. Because I think 4, as I was saying, is a perfectly coherent musical structure. If you think about subdividing a beat and you're in like a simple division, you're going to subdivide it into 4. 1e into 2e into 3e into 4e into. You're not thinking
1, 2, 3.
like 1 2 1 2 like 1 2 1 2 2
Some
2 2 2
people
3
are,
2 2.
though. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
No, nobody is.
It just depends on like what your
Like
rhythm
if
is.
you were trying to count 1916 times, you'd count 4 4 because that's 16 16th notes, and then 3 extra. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3.
I think it just depends on what you're
1e into 2e into 3e into 4e into 1e into 2.
I think we're talking about different things, and I'm not trying to get us off. I'm just saying, like, if I have if I have a difficult rhythm that I can't get, I'm not necessarily thinking about it as in the 4 measure. I have to think about it in the subdivision of the measure.
Right. But what I'm saying, a basic subdivision of a beat could be triplets.
Yes.
Could be duples. Could be 16th notes.
Yes.
Those are 3 totally basic, normal subdivisions. One of them is 4.
I get what you're saying. Yes. Now I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But it just begs the question then, and I guess this is what you're saying, is in a sense, those are all 1. Is really yes. Yeah. And that's really the more fundamental substrate or whatever.
Right. So I'm saying there's 1, 2, 3, 4 as all baseline musical entities.
But you get the idea that they're getting at in that there's a 2 feel and a 3 feel. Like a 4 feel is still a 2 feel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't fully agree, but yes, I know what they mean. Also, they mean something deeper because 2 against 3 is a 5th. And so they say all of harmony is also a 2 or a 3.
That's interesting.
It's a cohesive idea, a cohesive theory that there are only 2s and 3s. There's no such thing as a 1 or a 4. A 4 is 2 2s. A 1 is non-existent because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Because you require more than one thing for meaning. I understand at least the idea. I just don't think it's fully there.
Yeah. I mean, I get it too. It's funny because I have thought about music like that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm either counting it in a 2 feel or a 3 feel, because a song isn't a 1, and so maybe that's the more precise point is that a song is either a 2 feel or a 3 feel, but the parts of a song can be broken down into the single notes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't have a strong opinion about that. But I do see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying where, you can not subdivide it into 2 and 2. You can think about it as just 4.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what else did you think about? So we got to theorem 1.
Yeah. No, but it's funny. That was immediately the 2 and 3 argument came out because it feels like a similar way of approaching things.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was just theorem 1, right? It is
right.
Yeah. It's by the straight line in the circle at the first and most simple example and representation of all things may be demonstrated.
All things, huh? Except to the point, which is a thing.
But it's demonstrated. I think that's the key word. All things may be demonstrated, and I think that's the point. Is because it's what is demonstration, but the way that we're trying to show that we think about reality, and I do think we think about reality in that way.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So neither the circle without the line nor the line without the point can be artificially produced. It is, therefore, by virtue of the point and the monad, that all things commence to emerge in principle. That which is affected at the periphery, however large it may be, cannot in any way lack the support of the central point.
Right. Yes. So I agree with what he's saying. I don't understand how that falls in line with the first theorem.
Well, part of this is you're supposed to meditate over this for hours and days and years.
Okay.
So
you've only
just begun.
So I haven't taken enough time.
No, you haven't. This is theorem 3 now. Therefore, the central point, which we see in the center of the hieroglyphic monad, produces the earth, round which the sun, the moon, and the other planets follow their respective paths. The sun has the supreme dignity, and we represent him by a circle having a visible center. And so we should say, I mean, Copernicus was literally, he was just writing about the heliocentric sort of world, I think, around Earth, I think basically around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier. When was Copernicus? I thought he was in the 1500s. Let's see.
It sounds somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay. So he straddled the 1400s and 1500s. He died in 1543. So he was a generation after. So it was, maybe it wasn't popular, but it was certainly in the vernacular, the Copernicus theory. And then theorem 4, although the semicircle of the moon is placed above the circle of the sun and would appear to be superior, nevertheless, we know that the sun is ruler and king. We see that the moon in her shape and her proximity rivals the sun with her grandeur, which is apparent to ordinary men. Yet the face or a semisphere of the moon always reflects the light of the sun. It desires so much to be impregnated with the solar rays. That's true.
Oh, yeah.
And to be transformed in the sun, that at times it disappears completely from the skies and some days after reappears. And we have represented her by the figure of horns. Cornucopia.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we should read all the theorems. There's a lot of theorems, but that gives you an idea, and you can go look it up and maybe read it if you're curious. This is
I mean, I'm always interested in ideas that like the sun is God, and the idea that the moon is somehow the devil is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of curious stuff. So, like I said, I've only just started working into it, but this is kind of supposed to be like a bit of a survey of the things that we've been thinking about. So we can move on, or
it's cool. I mean, there's cool stuff in there. I just I'm just pedantic. What? I get hung up. I
didn't even think
things.
You were being pedantic.
Yeah,
you thought you were being though.
I don't know. So here's a funny thing. So 2 weekends ago, I was running sound for the Texas Fruit Festival, which is not the kind of thing I've ever been to before. No. It was they're all raw vegan. It was pretty interesting. Like these people are fruitarians. They almost exclusively just eat fruit.
Fruitarian.
Yeah, okay. They just eat fruit their whole life. That's all they eat.
I would think we'd have a better Latin name for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a funny thing. Yeah. But like they had lectures and keynote speeches and stuff. It was all pretty interesting.
Yeah? Yeah. What was the takeaway?
Well, I don't know. So a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of historical stuff that I have no idea if it's true or not. Claims that 50,000 years ago people didn't eat cooked food.
Well, I don't know.
If you have to cook it, it's not food.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, I mean, there is something to be said about the digestive system do have everything in place to digest food, right? And we are digesting it and changing it by cooking. But 50,000 years ago was a long time ago. And, I guess...
yeah, I mean, I don't know. But that's where, this was this thing I kept getting hung up on, is this claim they kept making that 50,000 years ago, nobody cooked food. And it's, in my mind, it's like,
how would you know that? Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
We all cook, all history that I know of involves cooked food.
Well, that's prehistory.
Where is your break?
Well, I guess their point would be fire wasn't widely used. I mean, because basically you can make the assumption that once fire became invented, then
we stopped eating food.
No, then we started cooking food.
Right. I mean, because they go on the reason that we're obese is because we eat cooked food, which is malnourished. We don't have enough nourishment, and so we overeat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either. It's and there were some doctors there. They were talking about allopathic medicine versus naturopathic medicine.
Allopathic, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You said alleo, I thought. It doesn't matter.
Oh, is it it's allo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason, in my mind, has been alleo forever. Anyway, I believe you.
I guess it's allelo. Technically.
Allelo?
Well, it's spelled allelopathy. So I say,
Oh, I thought it was an I.
yeah.
Maybe I've been reading it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, so I don't really enunciate the E. I just say allopathy.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you could probably make an argument that you're not wrong. It's just I hate pronunciation, pedantic. I hate when people get on people about pronunciation. So
yeah.
No, I mean
it's I feel like I'm always at this problem where baseline theorems or whatever people are laying as the groundwork, like premise one, I'm always stuck with people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are. That's true. You're like that Jordan Peterson Sam Harris interview.
Yeah. But to me, it's like it feels like by saying something is premise one, you're putting all of the weight on it, and so it needs to be the best statement you have.
But
almost.
You also said that. You just said you understand how things can be useful, even if they're not, completely correct. Like the
yeah, of course. Well, this is the thing. It's like there's interesting stuff that these fruit people are saying.
Right.
It's not like I took nothing from it. It's all interesting to me. It's not like how I live my life, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I mean, all I would say is even if we did eat that way 50,000 years ago, that doesn't mean that our physiology hasn't changed. 50,000 years is a long time. And to think that the humans that existed back then are evolved for the same exact thing now, I think is, I just think that's not true.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. They're all very Maha. They're all really into RFK.
Yeah,
really anti-vax.
Mm-hmm.
Like this thing is like they're like hippies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so traditionally, I think of them as like very left-wing people, and they kind of are. They're kind of communist.
Well, RFK Jr.
But
was Democrat.
They're wearing Maha hats, and so they're sort of...
The world is a weird place now.
Flirting in the Trump world in a weird way.
I know. I mean, the world... and this is maybe good, right? Is that all the categories are mixed up now.
Right.
I mean, we are becoming, in some sense, more individuals, like getting back to the first point. But, I don't know. But, yes, you definitely do have that autistic aspect where you're like, I can't get past this, so...
I know. It's a problem.
But me, on the other hand, I am the complete opposite. And this is actually gets me in trouble with the people I work with who are very detailed. I mean, they're like you, except I would say even more like just detail and autistic,
right?
Which is great. That's why they're so good at math, right? Mm-hmm. But I think you also need to be able to step back and look at the big picture of things and be like, okay, yes, maybe I don't exactly understand the mechanism here, but there's a feeling here that I'm getting at, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that feeling isn't irrational. I mean, I think it comes from we've talked about this, body computations. Your nervous system is doing a ton of computational work that's below the surface. And so that gut feeling is basically the computations that your nervous system did. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, sometimes you can go with the feel and then figure out the mechanism from, later, basically. Yeah. So the other things I was reading, I read The Body Electric, which is an interesting book about, it was written by an orthopedic surgeon in like the 80s, Robert O. Becker.
I think we talked about reading it before. Didn't we?
Know if we did, because it was we talked about reading it like, when we just would talk on the phone, but I read it, I got it in the spring, so I think we'd stopped in January, Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that was good. I like that. And it's basically it's essentially looking at the electromagnetic effects on biology. Like, because we kind of have this, I think, stupid opinion in modern science that really radio waves and all electromagnetic radiation generally doesn't have a physiological effect, at least not at the not a non-negligible one, Mm-hmm. They do understand that they've understood since, Bell Labs that microwaves, high frequency, large sort of fluxes of microwaves for long periods can cause warming, heat. Basically, you can warm up tissue, which will cause damage. But I mean, this is the whole thing, and they do test iPhones, right, to make sure that they do not have a certain level of radiation. But he is sort of bringing into a lot of interesting experiments that appear to not be debunked. He was publishing in like Science back in the day, in the 60s and stuff, which is obviously a good publication. But he was essentially showing the importance of electricity for regeneration. That's what his whole thing was. And that, first off, I think this is well accepted. You need nerves to regenerate. Like and so he was looking in salamanders and using them as a model system because they can obviously regenerate their limbs. And, he did all these experiments, him and other people. He wasn't the only one. You cut like the nerve, like the sciatic nerve in the leg or something, and then you cut off the foot. And like that would make it so that the salamander couldn't grow it back and stuff like that. Brutal experiments. I'm not, obviously saying they're not. But yeah. I mean, they did all sorts of crazy things, like just putting, just to see like how it would grow. So you cut off the arm and then you put it like on the forearm or something, and it would connect there, and stuff like that. And so it made him also realize that there is, and I've been thinking about this a lot too, there is this interesting boundary that life is able to establish and maintain, that is still not exactly well understood. But the nervous system appears to be very important for establishing that. That much appears clear. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was a good book. I recommend it. And it, just kind of details even more about that. It's well written too. It's a pretty easy read. But yeah, he apparently had some weird stuff happen to him. He doesn't talk about it in this because it was published in the 80s, and then I think a lot of this stuff happened in the 90s. Maybe when he got because this did well, the book. But I think he got like his funding cut at some point. Some weird stuff happened. And that can kind of get us maybe into Eric Dollard, who's another guy. Another rabbit hole I went down, who I would recommend anybody that's interested in electricity to check his stuff out on YouTube.
Right.
He's a kind of crazy guy, but he has a lot of interesting ideas. And I don't think, some of his stuff that he says I think isn't completely, I don't know if I believe it all. I just haven't been able to follow his train. I'd like to.
Right.
But he also is very eccentric. So anyway, I'm talking a lot. Any thoughts or anything like that? I don't want to just jump into Dollard.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about him and electricity. I don't know enough about electricity to make much intelligent comment.
No, it's okay.
We've talked about it before. Electricity is so confusing.
Yeah, and so Eric Dollard is this I think he's like 74 or 75 maybe now. So he's a boomer, but he's this eccentric electrician, essentially.
Right.
And he's kind of claims to be the one, like one of the only ones alive currently that's recreated like all of Tesla's experiments as he wrote them and stuff. And he worked at the Integratron, which has all this sort of like occult background to it. I don't know if you know about. Do you know about the Integratron?
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. I've been going down some crazy rabbit holes, man. The last 8 months.
Yeah.
It's basically this thing in the desert. I can't remember if it's in if it's Arizona or California or Nevada. Like it's the West. It's the Southwest desert somewhere, and it's this. Basically, long story short, there was a German guy in World War II who set this thing up, and then he got killed. And then this other guy came. What's his name? Van Tassel, I think is his name. And he was essentially like a lieutenant for Howard Hughes. Lieutenant, I mean, just like was high up in the Howard Hughes. He was funded by Howard Hughes to make this thing called the Integratron, which I can't remember what the initial reason for it was, but Eric Dollard basically thinks that it could be like a teleportation thing.
Okay.
Anyway, and it's but it's supposed to. I think it was also for like healing, and that's what I think people like. A bunch of spiritualists got into it now that run it, and I think it's like a kind of hippie, like meditation thing now. But Dollard was working on it in like the 80s and 90s, trying to get it to actually work, to do whatever it's supposed to do. And he's the one that feels like if you could actually get it to work, that the idea is that it would be like a way to teleport, because I don't know. I mean, this is where it's like, okay, maybe. Because it's the idea of like moving space around you instead of you moving, anyway.
That
I've
whole
heard
idea.
Stuff right.
Like that,
But he has done other things that gives him credibility, though. Like he obviously knows a lot about electricity. Obviously, maybe I shouldn't have started with the Integratron. But the way I discovered him was just randomly on YouTube. He has this video that's like 3 hours long from 2007 or something, where he's just detailing his perspective of the history of electricity since...
Right.
Really, basically the history of electricity. And it's very interesting, although I think it can be annoying for some people because it's kind of tangential, like me, but I like that. Right. And so he gives an interesting perspective that he feels like electrical science has been stalled purposely since like 1919, basically.
Right.
And that, honestly, what's that guy's name? Andreessen, he's kind of come out and said stuff like that. Mark Andreessen, is that his name? Yeah. The conehead.
Right.
I shouldn't say that as a fellow balding man.
The conehead.
Yeah, he's also Swedish, so, it's like I'm looking in my future right there.
It's a good name.
Conehead?
No, Andreessen.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
One of my favorite composers. Dutch.
Oh, yeah? Well, yeah, he's Swedish, but it's all the same thing. Yeah, it's all the Normans. Yeah, he said something recently on podcasts. He's the Andreessen Horowitz guy. You don't know this guy? He was on Rogan and stuff. He's like in the venture capital tech Silicon Valley. No, it's fine. I don't listen to him either. It's just it doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, he has also come out and said similar things, that like the U.S. government has been squashing physics research. Yeah. He doesn't go back to 1919, but that's what Dollard's saying. And yeah, I mean, and he feels like Einstein, I think he doesn't necessarily put the onus on Einstein, but he thinks the Einstein sort of theory of quantum mechanics has been introduced to basically confuse people. And so, yeah, and that it's sort of getting people to think about electricity in a non-intuitive way. Versus, so he's saying from an engineering standpoint, without all this without all this fancy mathematics, without quantum, without Planck's constant, this is how I understand electricity to work, and I like that.
Oh, I enjoy that.
Yes,
I like something about this. This is a thing I suspect about quantum all the time. Yes. Is essentially just there to confuse people. Yeah, it's nonsense.
I kind of agree in that sense, having tried to sit down and learn all this stuff and then being like, I feel like this is not, there is this thing in science where it's like, don't trust your biases, don't trust your intuition. It's reality isn't like that. You have to think about that. But I do feel like that's not true. The more I actually learn about it, the more.
I mean, I do wonder what that even means. Reality isn't like that. What are you talking about? What is reality?
Well, it's the idea, if you try to learn quantum mechanics, you have to kind of...
but what if quantum mechanics is just wrong?
Well, that's the point Dollard's making. But the idea of how could an electron be in two places at once, right? That kind of idea.
Right. Maybe it can't. I mean, it's just like, what if it's just
But
wrong?
You got to ask yourself...
What if you just made up something stupid?
Well, that's the point. But I'm just giving you an example of how that's non-intuitive. Yeah. We don't think of anything being able to intuitively be in two places at once.
Right.
Quantum mechanics, the theories, the equations are telling us that.
Yeah, I understand. I know.
And so Dollard, he's got a very interesting background because he was like 16 or no, he was like a kind of a wonder kid even earlier. I think his whole family worked at like RCA in the West Coast, in like the San Francisco area. And so he was given access to like RCA. I mean, RCA, right? The RCA cables. But RCA, it's the Radio Company of America, which essentially spun out of the what is that Italian guy's name who made the first radio? Marconi. I can never remember. Thank you. I can never remember Marconi's name. Yes, Marconi and
wireless radio. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But Dollar's making this claim like 1901. Then FDR, who was the deputy director of the Navy or admiral of the Navy at the time, came and they made everything illegal. Basically, like ham radios were illegal until like 1919. And then RCA was established to kind of consolidate all of the information. And so Dollard, being a boomer, comes in the 60s, and he's basically playing around in RCA as it's becoming destroyed. So it closed in like the 70s. So he ended up with a bunch of equipment, and so this is the point: is he's just this random guy.
It was still a company into the 90s.
It was, but I think it was different. There's something because
they used to make VHS tapes.
Yeah, but maybe they shut down like a large part. I don't know. Something happened in the early 70s that changed it dramatically, and also caused them to shut down the place that I think Dollard was working, and eventually they kicked him out. Even, and he says everybody fears the men in black. But it was the ladies in white that you really got to worry about. It's the same with the Integratron, he says. So he's like the environmentalists, the environmentalists and everybody came, under the guise of good intentions. But really what did they end up doing is he hates Dianne Feinstein anyway. Which I get his perspective. He's like, I was living in San Francisco in the 60s for like nothing, and then they start doing all these things, and now nobody can live in San Francisco. Yeah. So somebody obviously destroyed the city.
Homeless people can do.
Well, yeah, and so this is the point, is he was homeless for, he's always talking about going and living in the bushes. So this is where he is eccentric. Yeah. And you do have to kind of filter everything he says through like, okay, this is just a crazy guy on the bench, but it's a crazy guy on the bench that has some interesting points.
Yeah, but I can get it in a way, too. Like, emotionally, I can understand being like, you know what? Fuck you all. I'm going to go live in the...
Yes.
If this is what you're doing, I'm out.
Exactly. He has...
I get it. Like, I can imagine being...
Exactly. There. He has, in many ways, you could say, just a lot of integrity. You know? Yeah, because... And more... Like, I don't have the confidence to do something like that, So... So... Anyway, I'm just trying to explain the whole thing so people can make their own opinion, but I'm going to put the link in. I think everybody should go listen to him. I've been trying to evangelize about him.
No, I know. I just don't like what he says about Bach. But
yeah, I probably sent you the wrong thing to start you off on. Yeah.
Don't send me music stuff. I get mad. Well, yeah,
and that's the thing, is he's a little out of his element there. I mean, I think he would. Yeah. I mean, he would say he's not, but like his thing is electricity, right? His expertise. And also, I feel like he... Was it that you didn't like what he was saying or what I was saying about what he was saying? I can't remember.
I didn't like what he was saying.
Okay, you did listen.
I think,
yeah, okay.
We talked about it. It's scientists do it all the time with music, where they overly... they romanticize nature.
Yes.
And they lose track of the fact that art involves playing with nature and expectation.
Sure.
And something being, quote, all natural would be the most boring thing in the world. Something conforming to nature purely is like, then just go listen to a wind in the trees or something.
Yeah. Well, some people would say, yeah, I will.
Yeah, fine. But then that's not Bach. Bach is like controlling nature.
It is. Well, this is where he might, and I might also push back in that it's a reflection of, I mean, this is, I understand what he's saying, is like art is it's humans' conscious reflection of nature, in a sense.
Right, but it's more than, I actually don't agree. I think it's...
Well, art is whatever you want it to be. I shouldn't say...
No, but like a Bach, anything, any piece by Bach is going to have tons of dissonance and tons of consonants, and it's going to be the play between the two. And none of those dissonant chords are like straight up the harmonic series like he's talking about. That's how you contextualize consonants so that it's pleasant is through dissonance. That's where motion comes from in music.
And this is where I can't remember the section that I sent you, because I'm almost positive he wasn't making that point in the main sort of thesis. Because we initially started arguing about well-tempered, because he was making some point about well-tempered versus equal temperament. Just
intonation, yeah.
And...
well-tempered is equal.
Right, yeah, sorry. And he did understand that Bach was not playing in... He was already sort of...
Oh, I lost you for a second. Oh. You're saying something important. I'm sorry.
Back?
I cut you off, but I think it's the internet. I think you'll come back in a second.
Nothing?
There we go.
Okay, I'm back?
Yep.
I'm back, baby. Yeah, I mean, I'd need to go back and remember exactly what the issue was, because this was like 5 months ago. But it was, I'm pretty sure he had, I thought your main issue was he was trying to say exactly what you're saying, that like Bach is natural, except, I think your point was, well, he's on a well-tempered system, which is not natural by definition, right?
Right.
And he had acknowledged that, so that wasn't exactly his point. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, because I don't remember exactly what his point was about that. But I think that it was something more having to do with just the fact that thirds and fifths have any sort of relation, right? There is a harmonic series, period. And just the fact that we are even interpreting this as something says something about at least our physiology, which is natural, right? I guess my point is you could take the natural perspective in a lot of different ways. You don't have to just say, which I'm not saying that he wasn't talking about it like this, but you don't have to just talk about it in terms of the basic harmonic structure, in a non-well, what's non-well-tempered?
Just intonation.
Just intonation, right. Which sucks, obviously, yes.
It doesn't suck. It's not. There's nothing that sucks.
I'm joking. It's definitely different, and it is kind of jarring.
But it's super consonant. I mean, it's this thing. It's like it's not that I disagree with the idea that an octave, a purely tuned octave, almost doesn't sound like two pitches, because there's almost no activity between them. But a half step. A C, a perfectly tuned C against a C sharp is like crazy active.
Right. Well,
conflicting frequencies.
Yes,
of course, I understand that. I don't discount that.
But this is the other point, though, is that it just depends on what you are focused on, because it is right. It is, yes, you get more dissonance, meaning you get a richer frequency spectrum, but you get a more powerful amplitude when you have it.
Of course. Yeah. Like octaves will almost cancel each other out sometimes. It'll actually diminish the like the volume will seem like less.
Oh.
Perfectly tuned octaves.
Interesting. I would think it would be constructive, not destructive.
I think it depends on their phase. So actually, this is like where the electricity, the electronics part comes in. Depending on their phase, you can actually cancel it so you can't hear them at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's the perspective he's coming at it with, where he is, I would say, an expert about this, because he's thinking about electricity.
It's how like cardioid subwoofers and stuff work.
I see.
It's really
right.
Weird.
No, it makes sense. Yeah. And that's how noise canceling works. Is that the headphones are tuning to the frequency that you can cause destructive interference. I'm assuming, at least. I guess I don't know that to be fact, but I can't see how else it would work,
Right.
And that's why, like, you can hear that kind of like high frequency if you ever have like a wireless headphone. You can like when it's going in and out, you can sometimes hear the high frequency that it's emitting, which honestly kind of makes me wonder about. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he's an interesting guy, and
I agree.
And I think his best talks are there's 2-3 hour lectures from like the late 2000s where he's talking about the history of just electricity, and he's just going off the top of his head because he forgot his notes because he's an eccentric guy. And then the second one is he's giving a more formal lecture about the math. He came up with this whole versor algebra system to describe how electricity should be sort of thought about mathematically. And so he talks about it in that. And it's picking up on this guy named Steinmetz, who was at RCA and worked with Marconi and all of them in the late 19th, early 20th century. But yeah, and then all other guys like Heaviside and Jay Thompson and stuff. So it's cool. So that was another thing I was reading about.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I'm into it. I like it.
What's that?
I like telling people about it.
You tell people about it? What do you mean?
Yeah, sometimes, and they think I'm crazy.
Wait, what do you tell them about?
Well, stuff that we've talked about like some of Tesla's old ideas about electricity through the atmosphere, through the air.
I mean, those are important points. Yeah, I mean, he's focused more on that kind of stuff anyway.
Right.
Which I don't know, again.
But that's the stuff that everybody thinks is insane.
Yeah, but I don't...
It's like scary.
Sure. But I mean, the ionosphere is a known thing, that there are ions in the atmosphere that you can conduct electricity. That's how lightning works.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they say. Is like, this sounds extremely dangerous, and like people will be struck by electricity.
That is what I think. So this is it's tough because there's conspiracies, but yeah. So the whole story is that Tesla was working on this thing. They call it free energy, but it's not technically free, because it's more though that you can use the earth to conduct electricity, and then technically, then if you just put something in the ground, you could then pick up on. If you have a generator of electricity, then that is pushing electricity into the earth, then somebody on the other side of the earth could then stick like a pole into it and get it. I think it's kind of the idea. But yeah, I think people were worried about that. But he did the initial experiment in Colorado, and apparently it was successful. And what people around the area described hearing was thunder. It sounded like, and it looked like lightning and stuff like that. And then he packed it up and he went to Long Island to build the actual thing. And he actually did build it. But then J.P. Morgan cut the funding. And so the conspiracists say that he did it because this is when J.P. Morgan started to work with all the people to then squash electricity, because they realized that this was going to be free energy, and that that's not what a banker wants, right? You don't want free stuff. Right. Or you could look at it from this perspective that you just said, this guy is trying to is going to shock everybody.
Perpetual lightning all the time.
Yeah. So I think honestly, it's not.
It doesn't sound safe. If I'm just,
I know, but this is where Tesla was a genius, because he also had a way of producing AC current that he could connect it to him, and he wouldn't, die.
Right.
And this is how he discounted the whole, Edison killing a elephant with it. He went on a series of tours, basically hooking himself up to his AC unit and showing look, guys. He also came up with apparently a way to emit X-rays that is not damaging. Nice. And so actually Dollard and some and a group have and more specifically this kind of kid that's a lot like Dollard. He's pretty young. I mean, I think he started working with Dollard when he was in high school. Now he's in college, but he's very smart. And I think he built this actually and presented it at a recent conference. He built the X-ray emitter that Tesla had designed.
Nice.
And so they're claiming, it doesn't damage you the same way normal X-rays do. I'm going to stay skeptical on that until somebody actually, does a study on that. I'm not putting my hand. I mean,
there's that guy that worked at one of the early nuclear physicists who claimed that
but that's
radiation from that is not harmful at all.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see. I work with,
and he used to swim in the cooling tank.
But this is the problem: is it's it just depends on the radiation. It's I know working with electrons that it's damaging, because it's I shoot things with electrons, and I can only shoot it with so many electrons, before it starts to bubble, because you're literally destroying the sample by imaging it with electrons. So
right. I mean, what he says is that the radiation that we're talking about is heat. So yes, it'll be really hot and it'll make the pool boil. Right. And so don't get in it when it's boiling because you'll die. Right. But when it's cooled down, it's fine. It's just heat. That's his point. He's like, it's just heat.
But just heat.
It's not. Yeah. It's not some magical thing that makes you sick. It's heat.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. It's just the only skepticism I have with that is that it does seem like we have pretty good evidence that UV and X-rays can change DNA, because that's the whole point. That's where the mutations come, is that you can ionize DNA and then change it. And then once you change it, then you're going to get different proteins being expressed. Right. So that's...
I mean, it's not like I have any idea. I'm just saying what this guy argues, and I don't know. It's cool because it's like a radically different argument than I'm used to. Yes. But I don't just believe it. I don't know.
I mean... Certainly, there's a question if he was swimming, in it, that should be addressed. It's interesting that he's the only one that's... Because you've talked about him before, but I haven't heard of anybody else coming out and saying that. I would think if he was doing it, other people would have been doing it too.
Right. I mean, there probably are people... So to me, a lot of these things, probably even the Dollard guy, there are probably others who agree with him. But it's kind of a small community because it's sort of not mainstream. Yeah. It's a little bit like when you start looking into climate change stuff. Yeah. Well, if you just read all the main stuff, it seems like nobody disagrees with it. Yeah. But if you start looking into one person, you'll actually find like 10,000 people who disagree.
Another issue is it's like the smartest people are generally autistic and they really don't care or they don't know how to communicate. It's like Newton didn't care if anybody... I've been on X, and I feel like I've been seeing a lot of Newton hate, and a lot of it from Indians actually, who are like, Newton didn't discover, there's a Vedic text that kind of describes the 3 laws of physics, and so this guy was saying like Newton just completely stole this and didn't, and I just wanted to, I don't engage in social media because it's like, who has the time, but I wanted to be like, do you know anything about Newton? Do you know that he didn't want to publish? Like, he didn't care about publicity, like publicizing. Right. He had to be pushed to publish his stuff because he realized it was like, first off, yes, a lot of people did already know this. He assumed people knew this. And he was just like, you figure it out yourself, And people pushed him to publish his Principia. Maybe not the Principia. He might have already been thinking about it then, but certainly he got in this whole debate with Hooke, which I think we talked about previously, and I don't know. It's just it's like most. So my point is, most of these guys who are really smart are like, and my boss is kind of like this. It's like I don't know why they do it. Like I actually don't think it's conscious, but it's like they just assume everybody else will figure stuff out. So they're like, why do I need to tell people?
Sure.
I figured it out. You can figure it out too. And it's like, well, you're very smart. We're not all that smart. and so so I'm just kind of agreeing with you. So this is maybe another thing. People that are in nuclear physics are very smart and, electricity and stuff. And they're not the most communicative all the time.
Right.
And so that's another issue though. Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah. And another thing I was reading was The Occult Anatomy of Man, which kind of brings us back to the Rosicrucians, because it was written by Manly P. Hall, who was a Freemason, technically, but this is where I don't know enough about the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians, but there's like a little, there's overlap in the two, and I don't know what they are, other than that they're both a cult, that's kind of the idea. And Manly P. Hall was like I think he was a Freemason. And he wrote this kind of interesting book called The Occult Anatomy of Man. And again, this is where like Eastern people, I understand why a lot of Indians feel this way, because they are like, oh, look, the British came and they plundered our country. And then now they're saying that they invented all these things. It's like, we've been right about this shit for 3,000 years. So I understand that. I think that is a valid position to say. But also, I think a lot of Western people do actually give credit to the East and the Near East and stuff.
Right.
And Manly P. Hall is very good about this. That's just why I'm bringing it up. He has this other book that's much more famous that everybody, there's a lot of a mystery around it, called the Secret Teachings of the Ages or Secret Learnings of the Ages. I can't remember the exact thing. It's this tome that just describes all this symbolism, and basically it discusses where the symbolism is seen in all over humanity, essentially.
That's cool.
It's very difficult to get through, though, because it's so detailed. I mean, I've only listened to part of it on Audible. I should probably buy it. It might be more palatable.
Sometimes it's really hard to listen to text.
Normally, I think I'm better at that. Like, I think I learn things better listening, but you're right. They're not everything. Some things you need them on the page. And I think for like encyclopedic things, I think you need it on the page. And it's more of an encyclopedia. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, this is interesting because it's like, it's talking about essentially just like anatomy from an occult perspective. And honestly, I think I had thought about this, but like 33, this number 33 is all over the place. It's the age that Jesus was, right? It's the 33 degree of Masons. And then, so his whole thesis in this is like all of these symbols come from humans describing themselves. You can find all these symbols if you just look at man, or, man and woman. And so it's like 33, you have 33 columns and, spinal columns.
Okay.
Or vertebrae, I should say. And so, that's where I think a lot of people think the significance of that comes from, And so he's just got other interesting sort of tidbits. So having studied anatomy, I thought this was a very interesting thing. And a lot of it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, what they're saying, Let me see if there's another good factoid. I read it a little while ago, so everything isn't. It's pretty short though. It's like 70 pages. It's a nice little handbook. The human body is divided into 3 major parts. In analogy with this, the universe without is said to be compared of 3 worlds: heaven, earth, and hell. Yeah, so I mean, and then so you can think of the nether regions as hell, right? Earth is the center, and then and that kind of between heaven above and hell beneath is the earth, which the Scandinavians called Midgard, or the middle ground. It is suspended in space. Goethe. So he's got a very knowledgeable, like, he pulls in a lot of interesting points that you're like, okay, I didn't realize that. So, yeah. So this would honestly be like probably an easy one if we did want to do something that didn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm down.
Yeah, I guess we haven't decided how regular this is going to be, but
every other day maybe.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Roger Bacon thing, and the Francis Bacon. I went into the Bacons, and Francis Bacon, I ended up actually maybe it was just the book, but Francis Bacon is the one in the 1500s and 1600s. He's the guy that's, thought of as like the father of the scientific method because he published this thing describing it. Mm-hmm. Roger Bacon came about 400 years before him and was a Franciscan friar. So Francis Bacon was in the court of Elizabeth, although he really ascended into power. He was the opposite than John Dee. Francis Bacon, was actually kind of in poor favor of Elizabeth. He could never really he wanted to be, I think it was like the Attorney General, essentially, of England.
Nice.
And he wasn't able to get that position with Elizabeth. And he was even friends with this guy who ended up getting executed for treason. So that also put him in poor favor. But then once Elizabeth died and James came up, it was the opposite. So John Dee, all the people that were, loyalists to Elizabeth kind of got the shaft. And then Francis rose. But honestly, he kind of even like he ended up like embezzling money and stuff. So it's just he wasn't. I didn't know much about him, but I ended up feeling like, okay, this isn't a very. Okay, sure, he's the father of modern science in a sense, but he's not a very compelling idol, you know. and yeah. But Francis Bacon was, or Roger Bacon, the Franciscan friar, is much more interesting in a sense, although much less is known about him. And sorry, thank you for letting me rant at you. This is why I wanted
No, it's good.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I like it.
So Roger Bacon, 400 years before, was he was also kind of known as a magician. Because, you know, I think if you're a hermit and you don't tell anybody things, and then also he was the first guy in England to write about gunpowder and stuff like that. So he's all in all this occult stuff. But I think the most interesting thing I got from this book was he taught in Paris. And it was intriguing because, you know, the University of Paris was like the Harvard of the time in like the 1200s because it was older than like Oxford and Oxford was still relatively young, and Cambridge, I don't think was even a thing yet. I think Cambridge didn't become chartered until the 1300s. So it was basically Paris, and then, you know, Padua and all the Italian schools, obviously. But at this time, I think Paris was the preeminent place to be. So he taught there. But there was like a 30-year period where they banned Aristotle, actually. It was very interesting. And then once they brought him back, it was just making me realize how important Aristotle kind of is for science. Because this was something that Roger Bacon had really not liked about, I'm pretty sure, working there. I think he was an Aristotelian. And it makes sense when you think about, like, you know, when you look at Aristotle and what he's writing about. He's writing about consciousness, the mind. It is getting you to start to think rationally, I think, but also not necessarily religiously, which is why the church was against them. But, you know, once a population accepts Aristotle and starts reading them, that's when you can really start to see innovation and science take off.
Sure.
That's the most interesting thing I got from those. So anyway, here we are.
Let's read it.
Yeah, it honestly was not a good book.
Then let's not do that.
It wasn't good for what I was trying to do. It was Roger Bacon in his search for a universal science, and it was written by a historian, which sounds like it should be good, but he was written as an academic historian. So he was telling you more about why he chose to include this information and not this information, whereas like I kind of just would have rather heard just what information did you include. And I'll trust that you're including it because, you know, you're a historian and you've thought about it. Like he was writing it for other historians to justify it, you know, which makes sense. That's what you do in a scientific paper, right? You're going to make a claim and then you say why you have that claim.
Right.
Personally, I'm like, I don't need to know how the bacon is made. Maybe I do. Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah. And then
that sounds good.
I was also decided I need to learn ancient Hebrew and Greek and Latin. And so I was starting to look at the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, we should read those for sure.
We should, in the original Hebrew.
I mean, if I had the time, I would definitely do that.
I know. I'm with you. There's no time.
That would be something I'd be so into. Like I have such a weird desire to go. Like if I could go to like Princeton Seminary, because they make them do original translations of the Bible.
When you say original, so what are they using? Greek
or Coptic or Hebrew, depending on which books of the Bible.
Yeah, because I mean that's the one thing I was realizing looking into it, because I was like, what's the oldest Bible we have? It's the Dead Sea Scrolls, but those are fragments. So then I was like, what's the oldest complete Bible we have? And that is,
I mean, that's not very old.
No, it's pretty old actually.
You mean including the New Testament?
Yeah, I think it's from the 300s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty old.
Okay, yeah. Right.
But it's in Greek.
I think the one that we use today is from like 542 or something like that.
What do you mean we?
With all the books, we as in like Protestant Christians.
Is that the King James? I thought that was much later. That was Francis Bacon was King James.
No, but by the King James, the books had already been canonized.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you could say they were in the Council of Nicaea, which was in the, 320 or something, right?
Right, but that they didn't fully canonize everything that we have today.
I see. I didn't know that. The oldest full version appears to be in Greek. That's the point.
Of the New Testament.
Well,
the Old Testament was.
Yeah, when I say Bible,
Hebrew.
I guess I just assume that we're talking about the New Testament because,
Sure.
the Jews don't call it the Bible, right? They call it the Torah, don't they?
Well, there's the Torah and the Tanakh and the Talmud.
Right. But I mean,
they'll call it the Bible sometimes.
The Tanakh is more than just the first 5 books.
The Torah is the
no,
first
I know
5
that.
books.
So what's the Tanakh?
Like the
Psalms and everything.
prophets.
Okay, yeah. So it's the other parts of the Old Testament.
Most of the Old Testament.
Okay. Yes, right. That's my question.
Yeah.
Though. So the Torah is the first 5. The Tanakh is the rest. And then the Talmud is obviously the rabbis arguing.
Rabbis arguing.
Yeah.
And there's different Talmuds. And
Right. But that's what I mean, though, is they don't call it the Bible. So when I say Bible...
They do,
They
though.
do? Okay. Well, then...
Yeah, they'll say the
all right,
Bible
then I
and
don't
they mean
know.
their
Yeah,
Bible.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. You know more about this than me.
Yeah, I mean, they don't call it the Old Testament, that's for sure. That's what they don't call it.
It's just the Testament, damn it.
Yeah, it's the newest one I'm aware of.
Cool.
Yeah. But that would be cool. I would love to do that.
What? Oh, learning Hebrew or whatever.
Learning Hebrew and Greek and Coptic and Aramaic and
Latin. I want to learn Latin.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Being an ancient biblical scholar would be so neat.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be getting on these planes.
Maybe.
Well,
Dude, the story of how the book of the Gospel of Judas was discovered is crazy. It's like an Indiana Jones thing.
how was it discovered?
Well, they found it in Egypt. It was like in the 70s or something like that. So they knew about it for a few hundred years, but there were no copies of it. There's just like stories of it.
Right.
And so somebody found it, and they were trying to sell it for a ton of money.
I do remember this. We might have even talked about it on. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
No, maybe
yeah.
not,
They're trying to sell it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And like they tried to sell it to Harvard and Princeton and stuff. And Harvard and Princeton were like, well, we can offer you like some, but like a few thousand or something like that. And they were like looking for millions. Yeah. But eventually they kept it in storage. And eventually the History Channel decided to pay them millions.
That's right.
And then they hired all these scholars to go to Geneva and Switzerland. Like they met in a neutral location to, look at it and verify that it was indeed the Gospel of Judas.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about the Gospel of Judas?
I mean, I guess it's just it's a Gnostic gospel. Right. It's all weird. Like the Gnostic idea is sort of strange because Earth is hell.
Hey, man, I can buy that.
Well, it's the idea that the creator of Earth and like the universe that we know is a bad god, an evil god, an inept god, like a stupid god who's terrible at things and just creates chaos and misery because he's such a terrible god. But there is a heavenly realm with a good god. Jesus is the way to usher into that. Jesus and God are the same. It's it bears relation to Christianity as we know it, and Jesus is the Savior, and you can get to that realm by understanding the knowledge, the gnosis that Jesus spreads, like the secret messages in his words. And so most Gnostic Gospels are mostly sayings.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, and that is kind of like Rosicrucianism too. I feel like a lot of these Gnostic or occult or esoteric readings, kind of off the beaten path readings of Christianity, which I kind of prefer, are getting at
Gospel
this
of Thomas.
Well, they're they're emphasizing the fact that it's all code. You know, and I'm not saying that people in mainstream Christianity don't talk about that. And obviously the big thing that people throw against it is like, that, people do interpret it literally and they shouldn't.
Right.
But yeah, it's obvious that everybody in this region at the time was in the mystery schools. That's like the Greeks. It didn't matter who you were.
Oh yeah,
everybody was in the mystery schools, and everybody was secretive, and everybody had codes. So I mean, it makes sense to view it under that guise. I got to read it though. How does it end? So is Judas a good guy in this?
Sort of. He doesn't kill himself. But
is he black like in Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yeah, he sings a lot. And he's a good singer. To be honest, great voice.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? Carl something? Carl
He
Perkins?
had an amazing voice. I mean, he probably had the best voice. Jesus had a pretty good voice too.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
I like Mary Magdalene's voice in that old
They all
recording
had
too.
good voices. Let's be honest. Great musical or greatest musical?
That band?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Joe Cocker's band.
Was that Joe Cocker's band? I didn't know that. Oh, interesting.
With the BBC Symphony Orchestra.
Wow. But yeah, sorry. So yes, you said kind of he doesn't kill himself, but he still betrays Jesus.
Well, it ends after the betrayal, but I don't think it doesn't cast him in as bad of a light because he's a vessel. The betrayal has to happen. So it's
right.
Right.
So is it from his perspective? Then it's because it's the Gospel according to Judas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a really weird book. I mean, the other thing is it's like reading it's really hard.
Why? Because of the saying.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It's like it's just a strange book.
Are the rest of because this is from the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? That's how we know about it, right?
I don't think it is from the Dead Sea
Scrolls.
No.
Oh, it was a book of
We
Enoch?
know about it from other writings. I don't think it was included in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Wasn't there like a new book from the Dead Sea Scrolls? It's not the Book of Enoch, is it?
No, that's been around for a long time.
Yeah, sorry. Again, I don't know anything. I know a little bit about the New Testament because of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right. I don't think any Gospels are in the Dead Sea. I think the Dead Sea Scrolls is only Old Testament. And I think that what the Dead Sea Scrolls has is it has our first complete copies of certain books, like the Book of Isaiah.
So was there any new, do you recall if there's any new thing that we learned from that?
I think there's some interesting corroborations of manuscripts, and there's some interesting differences.
And wait, so when did we learn about the Gospel of Judas then? Is that?
I think we've known about it since like the 3rd or 4th century, but it's been lost.
So when did we find it? Sorry.
It's dating. We guess it was written towards the end of the 2nd century.
The History Channel thing you were talking about I thought that was the Dead Sea Scrolls, but was that the book?
No, that was just the Gospel of Judas.
I'm sorry, I thought that was the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Nope, that was just the Gospel of Judas.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there's also the Gospel of Thomas that was excluded during the Council of Nicaea.
Why?
Because it was considered heretical, because it was Gnostic. So all the Gnostic writings were specifically excluded from canon.
Because they focus on, I feel like, don't you think, like the kingdom of heaven is within you kind of thing, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fall in line with...
It doesn't say that you need an authority to understand God.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, okay.
I mean, all that stuff's crazy. And it's like there aren't any full manuscripts from the 1st century that we have intact.
I know.
Not a one.
I know. It's crazy. It makes you think. Because that's essentially what I was trying to understand is like, what is the most direct evidence of all this that we have, you know?
I mean... In theory, the writings of Paul are pretty close to Jesus. They're within about 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
That's close.
Yeah. Well, this is another interesting thing I was reading on kind of the same topic, although this was later.
Right.
It's Procopius, I think his name is. I'm sorry. I'm getting my I'm getting my my wires crossed. Yes. Okay. And this makes much more sense because it's 11. Sorry. Okay. So one thing that was interesting was Pliny the Younger, who is not to be,
right.
who was a Roman governor of basically modern-day Turkey, Bithynia, wrote to Emperor Trajan, seeking guidance on how to deal with the rapidly spreading Christian community in his province. In his letter, Pliny describes the following observations about the spread of Christianity. This is just Google AI, but it's from Epistulae X96. The contagion, that's what they called it, of this superstition, as he called it, had spread not only through the towns, but also into the villages and rural areas. So this is 112, right? So this is, less than 100 years after his death. He reported that pagan temples had become deserted and the sale of sacrificial animals, which had once been a source of revenue, had nearly ceased. And Pliny noted that his interrogations revealed nothing more than depraved and excessive superstition from the Christians. He said they would gather to sing hymns to Christ and share a harmless meal. However, they refused to perform pagan rites, including praying to the emperor's image. And so his question for Trajan was like, how do I deal with this? He was like, should we execute people for the mere name of Christian, or are only the crimes associated with being Christian? Should we take age into consideration? Should we offer a pardon to those who recant? And Trajan's response was actually, Trajan, for those who don't know, is kind of thought of as like one of the best emperors, right, of Rome, and in some ways maybe even like the last great one. So he established, I think, the farthest reaches of that the empire would ever get. And it's not that it's not that other empires wouldn't expand it back to that, but nobody ever expanded, I'm pretty sure, beyond what Trajan expanded it to. And they kind of started to look at it like this is the natural boundary of Rome. Right. Because it's cut by rivers and everything, like the Danube and stuff. And Trajan's response was, don't seek them out. Christians were not to be actively hunted. Punish if convicted. So if someone has formally denounced and proved to be Christian, they were to be punished. And then anyone who denied being a Christian and demonstrated their sincerity by worshiping the Roman gods should be pardoned. And then ignore anonymous accusations. And this was actually, I think, the most, this is where I was like, okay, look, the Romans obviously weren't great, but you can tell how they were on the trajectory that we were trying to get, and still are trying to get, of just rational thought. Essentially, is no weight should be given to anonymous accusations, as that would be set a dangerous and unlawful precedent. I was like, okay, well that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, sounds good.
But anyway, they were obviously executing people for their beliefs, so that's obviously not reasonable. And it's just interesting that it makes you wonder, what was it about it that was so that just made it spread so much? Right. And it probably was this idea. It's probably the pacifism. It's like, okay. How do you get people on your side? It's like, even what he was writing, he was like, they're not doing anything. What do I do? They're just sitting here eating a meal. They're not, killing everybody. It's like, once you give people, and this is why Martin Luther King and the pacifist movement in some ways is so powerful, and it should make people think now about, you just have, Charlie Kirk got assassinated and all these things. It's like the most powerful thing in our civilization, if you want to make change, is not fighting, essentially. Because then you get everybody on your side. You get everybody on your side. Because everybody's like, they're not doing anything. You're the asshole. Yeah. And that's what happened. People are like, Rome, you guys are the asshole here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Anyway, So Trajan the Younger, Pliny, whatever, not to be confused with Pliny the Elder, the encyclopedist. Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. This is a long episode.
Well, I just want to read risky stuff. So.
You do. It's true.
So that guy I was talking about, the nuclear physicist, He's got this book that you can't actually get anywhere.
Really?
Called The Nuclear Scam. It's banned pretty much everywhere.
Oh, that does make me want to read it too.
He ate a piece of uranium on camera once.
Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I can send it. He has a whole lecture. You can get the lecture, but you can't get the book.
So is he still alive?
No, he's dead.
Huh.
I mean, he was old in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. But you can't find the book, not even on 4chan.
No, I haven't been able to find it even on any of my torrent things or anything like that.
BitChute.
Yeah. You can on BitChute you can find his lecture. You can find his lecture on YouTube. But yeah. And I also want to read the book about how the flu isn't airborne.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
have fun reading that.
No,
on your
I'm
own.
open to look. I really am open to any. I mean, hopefully you understand this. I am really open to thinking about most things.
Yep, The Transmission of Epidemic Influenza by R. Edgar Hope Simpson.
Yeah, and I assume he's probably making a point for like the what do they call it? The terrain hypothesis. You know, is that like the body something happens that makes the body susceptible to disease.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that.
Yeah. Which, like, there is a part of me that agrees with that. You know.
He has all these things about how, like quarantining and masking and all of these things that we would think would work if the flu spread the way we think it does actually have basically no statistical effect whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like cases that do make you wonder about this sort of thing, and for me, it was reading about. Actually, last name Anderson. He was a doctor. He was kind of the first major head of Bellevue Hospital, or like maybe even the precursor to Bellevue, which is that famous hospital in New York City. He was a physician in like the 18th century in New York, you know, and there were a bunch of plague outbreaks after the Revolution. I feel like in like the 1790s in New York, and he was, you know, on the ground treating all these patients, and he never. It was smallpox. But the point remains, smallpox is very contagious, also, and so I mean, obviously, we would probably look at it now as that somehow he probably, you know, became inoculated, right, and then so he developed antibodies, and they already did know about variolation and everything by then. You know, they'd known about that for at least 100 years in England. But his whole family died, and he never got sick or anything like that. And so, you know, there are anomalies that we definitely can't explain. And so I think it's always good to have an open mind. I mean, there's just this article in the New York Times about this guy who got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, a genetic form of Alzheimer's disease. And they're like, you're going to get it, you know, when you're 50. And he's like 76 now, and he doesn't have it. But everybody else in his family did get it, you know? So now they're like, well, let's study him, basically. But I'm open to most things, believe it or not. Believe it or not, audience, you guys think.
Right. Well, no, I know that you're open to most things. I think the problem is that there are historical machines in place that sort of can't be by definition.
Well, yeah.
And there's a problem where it's like, whether or not influenza is spread one way, like I bet that there are some baseline principles that are incorrect in all sorts of sciences. And given the way things are at the moment, it seems very difficult to find any way of addressing that.
Yeah, I think less so, though, than even when we started the podcast.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, science is on its back foot right now is all I'm saying. Not to say that it's not going to, you know, strike back, so to speak.
Science strikes back. It's like, did you ever watch The Three Ninjas when you were a kid?
I did. I watched The Three Tenors.
Such a great, like, 7-year-old boy movie.
I don't think I did, actually.
Oh, man.
But The Three Tenors.
Okay. Great 7-year-old boy stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I cried during what's the famous one that there's the famous aria that they sang.
I'm talking about 3 10-year-old boys taking on a bunch of ninja bad guys.
I'm talking about
yeah,
beauty.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
So this was probably the most directed, disciplined, on-topic, focused podcast we've done.
I think so.
So for next time, we should really maintain this format.
I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
This is good. We covered a lot of things. We covered quite a few things.
I do miss Brother X. I think the trio is a good dynamic.
Yeah, I think so too. Because you and we can get off on stuff, and I think he's a good mediator.
Foil.
Well, it's not even just you and me. Like, actually, I was